Our other main story, the US and Iran have been carrying out overnight strikes against one another hours after President Trump accused Iran of shooting down an Apache helicopter which was on patrol off the coast of Oman. US Central Command said it targeted almost 20 sites, including Iranian air defences and radar systems. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guard targeted US positions in Bahrain, Kuwait and Jordan. Here's our North America correspondent Peter Bowes.
This is the most serious escalation of hostilities between Washington and Tehran since the ceasefire was agreed 2 months ago. The apparent downing of a US Army helicopter, followed by US strikes on Iranian military targets, marks a significant deterioration in relations and has raised concerns that the truce could unravel. US Central Command said its forces carried out self-defense strikes against Iran under the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump, and that the operation was a proportional response to recent attacks on US forces and international commercial ships transiting regional waters. Earlier, Mr. Trump said the United States must, of necessity, respond to the downing of the Army helicopter, although some US officials have said it's not clear whether the aircraft was deliberately attacked. 2 US pilots were rescued by an American sea drone and are said by officials to be in a stable condition. The US says it struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations and surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it had attacked American bases with drones, including the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Iranian state media said the country's armed forces were threatening massive and wider attacks across the region if the US continued what it called its aggression against the Islamic Republic. Both sides insist they want diplomacy to prevail, but the ceasefire remains on a knife edge. Peter Bowes, BBC News.
Well, let's speak to our Middle East correspondent Yolan Nell, who's in Jerusalem. And Yolan, just give us more detail on what's happened over the last few hours, that tit for tat between Iran and the US.
Yes, this amounts to really one of the most serious escalations that there's been between the US and Iran since the ceasefire came into effect 2 months ago. And it comes just a day after President Trump was suggesting once again that we were just days away from a deal with Iran, and also after he had put significant pressure on Israel to stop its first confrontation with Iran since the ceasefire came into effect. And of course, it has put US Arab allies back under attack as well. Now, after that US Army Apache helicopter was downed, with the US saying it was patrolling the Oman coast, a US official has said that there were nearly 20 targets that were struck inside Iran. Iranian state media reporting explosions in the south, not too much information given about damage, apart from saying that in one location that 2 water reservoirs for the local drinking water supply had been affected by the US military action. And the Iranian response came very swiftly. It said it was targeting US military bases in the region that had been used to carry out the attacks on its territory. And sirens went off in Bahrain. That is the home to the US Naval Fifth Fleet. In Kuwait as well, where Iran says it was targeting a US airbase. And then in Jordan too, where there's a US airbase in the east, the Jordanian armed forces saying that 5 missiles were successfully intercepted. And although a US official has come out saying that they don't know of any damage to US locations in the region or harm to US personnel, the Iranians are claiming that they destroyed 4 of the targets they had set out to hit.
Yolan, thank you very much. Yolan Nell in Jerusalem. Well, it's been a very heavy past 24 hours of strikes in the south of Lebanon by Israel. Let's get the latest from our Middle East correspondent in Beirut, Lena Sinjar. But Lena, just tell us what's been going on, particularly around the city of Tyre.
Well, I think this is the first time that a whole city is ordered to evacuate. That's what happened yesterday in the city of Tyre, including Christian neighborhoods. The city of Tyre is home for, thousands of displaced people who ran away for their safety from the south of the country after the Israelis' advancement and occupation of the south. And now the whole city was ordered yesterday to evacuate. And in fact, there was a strike that happened in a neighborhood in Tyre even before evacuation orders without a warning. At least 8 people were killed in that area, Al-Masakin al-Sha'biyya it's called. The government is really concerned about these continuous evacuation orders, non-stop ones in the south. Before the ceasefire, there were already 1.2 million displaced. Some of them managed to go back to their intact homes after the ceasefire. But, you know, these kind of orders and airstrikes are happening almost on a daily basis in the south, as if this area is, you know, falling out of any deal or any negotiations, because, you know, violence is continuing. Hezbollah continues attacking the Israeli troops on the ground inside the south, and the Israelis are ongoing with strikes in different locations. And yesterday was really condensed in Tyre and Nabateeh area in South Lebanon.
Lina, thank you very much for the update. Lina Sinjab in Beirut.